Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this episode, our goal is going to be to connect this goods factory over to the city of Akron. So to start this, we're going to work on the steel side of the goods factory and use this steel mill over here. And then to get the supplies for it, we'll use this coal mine and the iron mine that's right next to it, and we'll train it over to the factory. So to start setting this up, we're going to have to put in some new roads just so that the station will face the direction of the mines, just so that setting up the train track is a lot easier and more straightforward. So we're going to get this station here, bump it up to 240 meters, and then add a few tracks to the station, as this is going to have a lot of trains coming in and out of it, bringing in coal and iron and then shipping out the steel. So we'll place that right about here, and then we will start to get the stations up at the iron and the coal mine. So over here at the iron mine, we're going to place a similar 240 meter station, but we're only going to have one track here for now. I don't expect this to see too much traffic to warrant 2 or 3 tracks in the station, so one should do just fine. So there's that one for the iron mine placed. Just checking the terrain there. It's a little bit weird, but we'll get through it. And now up to the coal mine. This one's going to be a little trickier. As you can see, trying to place this, there's quite a big terrain change, and I don't want to just start by building a ton of bridges with our tracks, so I think we're going to have to do some terraforming and flatten out some of this area so that we can put a decent looking station in. So we got this area pretty flat now, so we can finally place the station. So after looking at this contours map for a while, I think the coal mine that we attached is a little too high up for us to try to connect with trains. So we found another one that's much closer to the steel factory and at a similar elevation. So now we're just going to quickly throw a station on here and connect that up to the network. So this will make our trips much shorter and a lot more cost effective, now that we don't have to build tons of bridges or super long tracks to get down that hill. Now that we've connected up or placed our stations, we can connect them up with tracks. So we're going to connect up to the iron mine first, just keeping an eye on where the hills are and the elevation changes, and also just sort of making sure we keep enough space between our tracks and the nearby city so that it doesn't start to grow over our tracks. So while we're building this, we do have to keep in mind that we'll probably have a few intersections on here, since we will be moving stuff out of the steel mill. We'll also probably be having multiple trains running different routes on this track, so we'll definitely want to make space to where we can have clean intersections without sort of wasting the space. So luckily there's this nice open area right next to the city, and then now we have to squeeze our way between this fuel refinery and this hill here. Luckily we can get through there without a bridge just fine. And then we have to sort of deal with this road here. So we'll just delete that and then get the track in first. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have a tunnel and maybe even a little bit of a bridge just so that it can connect up flat. But I think that looks pretty good. So all that's left is to connect up this road, which it's going to do the same thing. We're going to have another tunnel just so that we don't have a weird steep hill right out of the station. So that's the iron line all set up. We have that line. It looks good. It's relatively flat, so we shouldn't run into any issues really when transporting iron. So now that our iron line is connected up, we just now have to connect this coal, connect up to the coal plant. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of a weird route just with how our stations are laid out and also the hill there. So we're gonna come from the opposite end of the station, which unfortunately leads us right into a tunnel, but it's short, so it's not terribly expensive. And then we pretty much just have to follow the river up to the coal mine. So we're trying to keep our speed as high as possible as well. We don't want to drop below 75, even though we can't really reach 75 yet with a lot of the cars. But just in the future when we replace our trains, it'll be easier just to have it all at 75. So there's that line connected up. That was pretty quick and short. And now we just need to deal with this road crossing. It's very weird because it's quite a dip into the ground. So I'm thinking we could try to get a bridge that goes over there. So hopefully we can do this in a somewhat elegant way, so it doesn't look terribly out of place. It doesn't seem like the game wants to automatically put a bridge, so we're gonna have to sort of mess with it so we can get a bridge ourselves. So we could end up with something like this, which doesn't look that good, really. The bridge is all wobbly, and that doesn't look really good at all. And this way doesn't really look much better. I think just because of how the terrain is, it's going to continue to cause us issues. So we might just sort of be stuck with what we get there. So this is the bridge that we're sort of stuck with. I've tried a few different ways to get a better looking bridge. I couldn't quite get it. So that's not really going to cause us problems, so it's fine to just leave it like that for now. Now it's time to set up the goods factory station. So we're going to add some roads around it so that we can align our station best up with the terrain. So this road's going to be at a bit of an angle so that it points us in the right direction. The terrain is quite tricky around here. So we're going to try to put a station in here, which doesn't look like it's really going to happen. And so let's try to flatten out the terrain so that we can get a flat station down without creating a massive hill or needing to dig deep into the ground. So now we just need to replace these roads, and we should be good. We'll add this station in right about here. And I think that's pretty good for now. You can see the route to the steel mill is going to be quite tricky. We have to sort of thread our way between those two mountains. So now let's get started on the track. And now there's the connection up to the goods factory complete. I think this intersection came out really nice. It's very elegant and sleek. It didn't really take up too much space, and the route up to the goods factory wasn't too terrible. Now that the whole steel side of the goods factory is set up, it's time to start setting up the plastics and chemical plant side of the goods factory. So we're going to start here with this oil well, and there's a refinery right up the road. So we're just going to connect this up with trucks real quick. Just place a station right at each one. And then we have to put a train station there so that we can run it up this hill up to the chemicals plant. You can see there's quite a hill going between them, but I think it's shallow enough where we can make it work. So let's figure out how we can get a station in here. There's a lot of roads, so I'm trying to avoid a road intersection if possible. If not, we might just have to line the station up better, which I think we're going to do. So we'll throw in another 240 meter station. Only one track because I don't see us running more than 1 or 2 trains on here. And then another station all the way up here at the chemicals plant. We might just have to get rid of some of these roads to fit it in here. There's quite a hill, but the way that we're going to line up the station is pretty flat. So we're going to get rid of some of these roads to make space for the new station. And we'll put it right here, so it's a little bit lower in elevation, but it's still within reach of the chemical plant. So we're going to clear these roads next to it because those are just going to intersect with our track. And so now all that's left to do is connect it up. So here's the track. You can see it's pretty much uphill the entire way. We had to throw on a tunnel there, but we can get a train that'll make it up this hill just fine. So now we need to get ready to create the line that goes to the goods factory. So we're just gonna have to come in here and configure this station and add another track, because I forgot to make this station 2 tracks so that we can have both trains coming in here at the same time. It's a little hard to place these platforms sometimes. But anyway, there's our station. So now we just have to connect up from the chemical plant here all the way over to the goods factory. This one might take a while as there's a lot of elements in our way. Okay, now we're finally connected up. We had to run this track pretty much directly towards the good factory, because going to that intersection area we had is just too far out of the way. But we got this really nice bridge and tunnel. I think this view here is amazing. The train bridge is super high over the other track that we have, and so that connects us all the way up to that oil refinery here. So now pretty much the final thing we have to do is double up these tracks, and then we can start getting trains on them. I think this whole project is very expensive, but it's definitely going to pay off in the long term. It might not make us money right away, as we'll probably be running at very limited capacity, since trains are a little expensive for us at this point. But the reward that we get from it, I think, is definitely going to be worth it. So now that all of our track is doubled up and ready for signals and vehicles, there is one last thing that we need to do, which is connect the goods factory up to Akron. I think probably a train will work best, as the terrain isn't bad between the two of them, and I think it might just be a tiny bit too far for trucks. So now let's start to configure this station here. We just need one more track that can go up to Akron, and then we need to add the stations and truck stops up here. So we'll place our station a little bit outside of the city. This way it allows room for it to grow, and it just gives us a little bit of space for planning. So now quickly, just to connect up the track, we're probably gonna have to go around that industry. We are gonna have to make a tunnel, but everything else in this area should be pretty flat. We'll have to cut it close there. Try to avoid making a bridge, which I'm pretty sure we can make it without having to add a bridge. If we go under the tunnel instead of over it, we can pretty much make it there. However, we will have to add a bridge all the way to the station. But we have the money for it, so why not do it? And now we're pretty much connected. We just have to quickly double this track back up to Akron. Which, it's a little weird, so we're gonna have to do this in shorter segments. You can see it's making a big curve instead of following the track. So we're just gonna try this again real quick. And this time it looks like it's working a lot better. So we can take this all the way up to our station, pretty much, once we get the money. And now I think this tunnel opening is giving us some weird errors where we can't merge it. I think we get it there. So we'll connect up there. And now all of our track is laid in the system. So now that all the track is laid and everything is connected up, I think that's going to be it for this episode. We've done a lot of work, so I'm going to save putting all the vehicles and everything into the next episode. So if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. If you have any feedback or suggestions, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.